Pitch black, icy cold, crushing pressures. The deep ocean offers little comfort and lots of danger. But two research teams search this barren realm for an oasis of alien life forms. What they find is a menagerie of bizarre creatures, creatures who are colonizing the hostile deep. The bubbles signal what scientists call cold seeps. Two of the world's top research teams seek them out for one reason. They mark the edge of life as we know it. Somehow, the seeps support an abundance of life and may explain how life first emerged. The methane gas in these seeps might also store abundant supplies of fuel for the industrial world. But how could anything live down here? That's what these scientists really want to know. Setting out from Gulfport, Mississippi, the Harbor Branch Oceanographic Research Vessel Seward Johnson II motors toward the first of 10 planned dive sites. Chuck Fisher leads the expedition. A biologist from Penn State University, he focuses his work on cold seeps, a relatively new and little understood deep ocean phenomenon.
Oh, the Pisces disaster.
You know, when we first started studying the cold seeps, many people thought it was simply a biological oddity. Now we're beginning to appreciate that these cold seep communities are much more widespread than we ever thought they were before, and may play a real significant role in the ecology of the deep sea where they occur.
On board, 27 researchers and crew conduct a variety of studies. Roger Sasson, an oil geochemist from Texas A&M, analyzes the mud and gases that feed these mysterious colonies.
We're looking at a biologic system where oil and gas is normal. Here, the entire ecosystem has evolved to use the oil for its own benefit.
Deep sea ecologist Bob Carney from Louisiana State University collects creatures drawn to the seeps from other parts of the ocean.
The primary interest is to see the relationship between the seeps and the more typical deep sea fauna. And these are animals that might be feeding on the seep communities, which are pretty common in this area.
Unlike cold seeps, hot vents have been studied since the 1970s. These volcanic ducts spew chemical-rich, superheated gases that feed bacteria. Huge communities of tube worms and other life thrive thousands of feet beneath the waves.
Hot water's coming out, earthquakes, lava's flowing. They're very dynamic and very ephemeral environments. The animals that live there have adapted to that with very fast growth rates and fast life cycles. They live hard and they die young.
Cold seeps were first discovered in the 1980s. Often found near major oil and natural gas sites, these vast reservoirs of methane are embedded in the seafloor as part gas and part ice. Incredibly, microbes here use the methane as their energy source. In turn, huge complex colonies of animals have formed to feed on the microbes.
At the cold seeps, we find related animals, but have adapted to a very different lifestyle. Cold seeps are stable environments. The seepage lasts millennia. And in fact, the tube worms at the seeps have adapted to this lower energy but stable environment with very slow growth rates and probably the longest lives of any animals that we know of on Earth. For this expedition, the tube worms will be a central aspect of our study. Of course, in my point of view, the tube worms are the center of the universe, but there are people that think gas or bacteria or rocks or mud are more important, and we'll try to make everybody happy.
Chuck and his crew begin their search for methane seeps 150 miles off the Louisiana coast in the Gulf of Mexico.
826, there's 20, 1, 2, 3. Right there, I got it circled.
Okay, the beauty of that site is that it's got everything you want. It's got tube worms, it's got mussels, it's got gas hydrate, and it's at the limit for the submarine, about 3,000 feet.
Some of these seeps harbor creatures that are 250 years old and may hold species yet to be described. To locate these ancient communities, scientists use a glorified fish finder to paint a picture of the seep's location.
That is a beautiful gas plume. Really dynamite picture. There's the irregular seafloor. There's the general contour of the seafloor. This is scatter from fish and little things in the water. It's really good. It's really very informative.
The cold seep that Roger locates ranges nearly 1,000 feet below. Here, sunlight never penetrates. Pressures reach over 500 pounds per square inch, nearly 40 times what the human body is built to withstand. A four-person sub will carry them down into this bizarre and exotic ice-cold realm. A mechanical arm gently snatches samples from the bottom. A motorized scoop collects rocks and sediment. Samples are stored in an automated onboard lab. Specimens are filed on a plexiglass shelf. Tubes take cores from the ocean floor, and canisters collect gases. The sub's thrusters propel it through the cold depths. It's lights, camera, action. Every key moment of the dive will be recorded. The submersible can illuminate its entire surroundings. The expedition, with its crew, vessels, and instruments, cost as much as $20,000 a day to operate. And no matter how well its high-tech toys work, they can't match the reach of a good old chicken wire fish trap. Baited with fish, the traps are dropped at the edge of cold seeps. They snare creatures that may rely on the seeps for food. The census allows researchers to measure the importance of the seeps to the deep-sea ecosystem. And as important as the sub-studies may be, the team also depends on the deck operations aboard the mothership.
You can go ahead and steady up between 185 and 190, that'd be fine.
Personally, yeah, I actually like deck operations. The submarine's a lot of fun, but the submarine only is on the bottom of the ocean 6 hours a day, and you're out here all the rest of the day. So I'm a little more traditional. I like using cables and ropes and things like that. Okay, go ahead. Top roller over.
The graduate and postdoctoral students perform much of the labor on the expedition in exchange for a hands-on learning experience.
In fact, of course, training the next generation of scientists is one of the most important functions of any research scientist. So we take it quite seriously. And most of them have their own projects that they are really directing themselves.
Some want to know why creatures settle around the seeps.
It seems like somehow they're being attracted to the inner edge of the brine pool rather than further away from it.
Others want to unlock the chemistry involved in the bacteria's use of methane.
We're doing geomicrobiology, try to see how microorganisms oxidize methane.
And others examine the physiology of the tube worms.
I want to measure the pH and the sulfate concentrations from these blood samples.
When you're studying communities like you find at the oil seeps in the Gulf of Mexico, an interdisciplinary approach is the only way to go. And thus we have geochemists, geologists, microbiologists, physiologists, and ecologists all working together. And none of us can address our questions without the information we get from the others.
But even the most serious scientist needs a breather. The next day, the crew retrieves one trap after a night on the bottom. At the end of 1,000 feet of cable.
There's always some excitement when you're bringing stuff up. You don't know what's going to be at the end of the line. There it comes. Sight!
They pull in some of the planet's most rugged and primitive creatures. Related to the cute little pill bugs found under rocks and logs on Earth, these monsters have grown to enormous size in the extremes of pressure and temperature of the deep.
This is the giant deepwater isopod, Bathynomus giganteus is the scientific name. These are a major scavenger, and so they have an important part in the food chain of the Gulf of Mexico. Anything that dies in the upper ocean and drops to the bottom is rapidly recycled by animals such as this.
So you can see where he grasps his food. So it can grab the prey and hold it towards its mouth. You can see its mouth. It's extremely powerful, plier-like jaws. It has layers and layers of jaws.
While Bob and the students examined the traps, others prepped the sub. They hope to make 26 dives in just 2 weeks. The focus of the first dive is to explore the cold seep, take samples of the gas and mud, and collect tube worms. The Johnson Sea-Link 1 submersible has been specially designed to give scientists an unparalleled view of the sea bottom. In his career, Chuck has made over 100 dives, but each one is still a thrill.
Every time I get in the sphere of a submarine, I get a little bit of a chill going down my back because you never know what you're going to see on the seafloor. This particular sub, the part where the scientist is sitting in front, is entirely made out of plexiglass. You're sitting in a little bubble. There's no claustrophobia, and the view is fantastic.
Okay, Chief, put him in. Release.
Roger, we're done. Okay.
I really enjoy going down a submarine. You can see all this blue water around you. There's no feeling of motion whatsoever. And the sea surface becomes the sky.
We're at 50 feet. MBT vent is secure. How copy?
And at first, it's a light blue, and then it's a darker blue, and finally, it's almost black, and then finally, with the lights off, it's totally black. And then you start seeing the bioluminescent organisms, the jellyfish. The sub bumps into them, they light up. Just like settling into a feather pillow. It's a rare delight. It's the nearest I can get to being an astronaut.